Halo. Arguably the most important first-person shooter since Doom. If Doom created the first-person shooter, then Halo revolutionized it. The intuitive controls, the freedom of gameplay, the music, all things thought to be perfected by previous titles, then boom, here comes Master Chief riding in on a pelican with a rocket launcher strapped to his back on an ancient alien ring world designed to eradicate all life in the entire universe to this song! Halo Combat Evolved had everything you could want in an action game. A badass hero, mysterious alien technology, clever and engaging moment-to-moment gameplay that made you feel like anything you could think of was possible if you could just figure out how to do it. Then Halo 2 drops, and the experience only got richer. You could dual-wield weapons, which introduced extra pieces to the chessboard that is this game's combat. Also, it introduced a story that was narratively leaps and bounds more complex and enthralling than the first game. Then, Halo 3, the explosive conclusion to the trilogy. Everything was so refined by this point, and with the introduction of Forge, the game only continued to grow through user-created content that you truly couldn't find anywhere else. If you had an Xbox 360, you were playing this game, and if you didn't, then you sat and watched your friends play it. It was a true gaming phenomenon that took the world by storm. This is where Bungie and Microsoft branched out and started gathering writers to expand the universe further with books. And the books explored the deeper, darker concepts of the world Bungie created. The first book released was The Fall of Reach. The Fall of Reach expanded on ideas that the games never truly focused on. The Office of Naval Intelligence, the Spartan 2 program, and the beginnings of a younger, unrefined Master Chief Petty Officer Spartan John 117. The books examine the gray areas, the questionable ethics, and the sacrifice in the Halo universe to a much greater extent. The big badass you played as was actually a product of a shady top secret government program. He was kidnapped at the age of 6 and replaced with a Flash clone designed to wither and die. He and many others like him were whisked away and indoctrinated to fight. They then underwent intense surgeries to strengthen their bodies to be able to wear a suit of armor that made them unstoppable war machines. Everything was extremely unethical, but do the ends justify the means? We're now introduced to a new installment in the franchise undertaken by a new company that emphasizes this troubled upbringing. And again, the hero saves the day. But at what cost? The only bit of humanity he had left was stripped from him, and for the first time we see him as a man, not a machine. With the 5th installment in the franchise, we see this man lost. We see him clinging on to a hope that is long since dissolved. Many will claim that Halo lost its way under the management of 343, but I'd argue they gave Master Chief a compelling new dimension to his character. Instead of the unflinching war hero, we see a man succumbing to his troubled upbringing. We see him desperate, and we see him break. In my opinion, this is the strongest element 343 brought to the Halo franchise. And now with the 6th installment right around the corner, we can discuss what 343 needs to achieve in order to cap off the saga in a meaningful and powerful way. Combat. With Halo 4 and Halo Guardians leaning closer to modern FPS mechanics, we saw a break from the traditional format. Bungie's Halos always had you on the move. It dropped you into this sandbox with a plethora of tools at your disposal. There was a freedom in picking up anything you could get your hands on to help you advance. But the true freedom was in mobility. Rarely did you have to cower behind cover to wait for an opening. You were always pushed forward. With 343's Halo games, it was more like a cover shooter disguised as a sandbox shooter. Even with the introduction of sprinting and ADS, you still felt limited in your movement. Give the player their freedom back. Under Bungie, that's a hard thing to say. Under Bungie, every weapon had harmony in the game space and served a different purpose. enemy fire was often slower to better telegraph to the player how to react and respond. It forced the player to jump and dive and dip around the level to overcome the opposition. It always encouraged the player to try new approaches and different combinations of tools to get the job done, which empowered the player by making them feel like they discovered something new. Under 343, the combat felt like it took a step back. When you died, you often went back to the same spot of cover and would try again to pick the enemies off one by one until succeeding in moving forward. Once the initial thrill of the new Promethean weapons wore off, you'd usually find one long-range weapon and one short-range weapon, and that would be your loadout for the rest of the game. Halo Infinite needs to be a continuous conversation of questions and answers. If I get this and I do that with it, how can this help me in this situation? I also feel that the Spartan ability should stay. Yes, the lack of sprint in previous games made you consider commandeering an enemy vehicle to traverse quicker, but every modern game has sprint, and to take it away now would feel regressive. You could solve this by making the areas bigger, but that could take away from the focus of the gameplay. A solution could be verticality, but that could lead to more long-distance confrontations, reverting back to a cover-to-cover style of play, so it will be difficult to find a happy medium for everyone. At the time of this recording, we still have no gameplay, just environmental footage and a cinematic trailer. But with what we've seen so far, it looks like larger areas is the route 343 are taking. That's not to say that every encounter will be on a big open plain, but there will be challenges when incorporating player freedom on such a scale. But to sum up this segment, 343 need to get us out of cover and advancing with curiosity again. Make the game ask us questions we need to explore experimentation with its systems and mechanics to find out. Story. If Halo 4 divided fans, then Halo Guardians segregated them. The Chief a traitor? Cortana evil? Locke? What the fuck? Though some moments shined, the campaign as a whole was mostly loathed by longtime fans. The absolute best part of Halo Guardians' story had nothing to do with the game itself, but was actually its marketing campaign. Hunt the Truth was an episodic audio drama released before the launch of Halo Guardians. It followed war journalist Benjamin Giroux as he uncovered the dark origins of the Spartan 2 program. It was absolutely captivating from start to finish, with excellent voice acting, great audio work, and top quality writing. The production of Hunt the Truth was outsourced by advertising company Eisenberg, who work with everyone in the business from Disney to Zynga. These guys seem to have a better understanding of what a compelling story in the Halo universe should be, more so than 343. That being said, I like what 343 has done with Chief. Their emphasis on the man in the armor is fascinating to me. I feel they could really take inspiration from the expanded lore. Imagine if Oni was exposed for its treatment of the Spartans and everything came crumbling down. Imagine seeing all parties involved tried for their actions. But for Halo Infinite to really shine for me, it has to be a personal story. To see Master Chief giving up on saving Cortana and ultimately taking her down has to be the climax to this saga. This will bring forward a lot in terms of character development. The realization he can't save her, the acceptance of what he has to do, and the remorse of doing what is necessary. He is a soldier after all, bred to follow orders. And to see this be the catalyst for his end could be amazing. Now, what do I mean by this? I'm all for a main character dying if it serves his character. Though controversial, I love the ending of Mass Effect 3 for this purpose. For Captain Shepard to die in order to save the universe fits his character. It was the ultimate sacrifice in order to complete his mission. Master Chief shares this same determination. It would fit his character to sacrifice himself in order to save the universe. With Cortana dead, he has no connection to humanity. With no war to fight, he has no purpose. He could die and it would work. But I hope he doesn't. I would love to see him take off the armor for good. I'd love to see him step away from the battlefield and enjoy a life he never had. But for this to happen, he will need to find purpose. Something worth living for. And this is what I hope he finds in Halo Infinite. What that will be, I don't know. How we will get there, I don't know. But I hope with everything I've talked about in today's video, it makes you think of how you want to see Halo Infinite resolve this saga. I think with 343 stating Infinite to be a soft reboot, we have a lot to be hopeful for. I think they have taken their time with this game in order to get it right. And for the fans, and for the Chief, I hope they do.